trying to redirect a pass. Clark. Oh my! From Schenectady! Clark.
The hardwood was her kingdom, and Caitlin Clark carried herself like royalty. But what unfolded next would leave the league's very titans speechless and still. Every single gaze in the sold-out stadium was fixed on her, as if a collective breath was being held. A single potent question hung thick in the air. Was this the birth of a new age in women's basketball? In a few pulse-pounding minutes, her performance transcended mere play. She conducted the game, she ruled the court, and she made legends pause, witness, and accept that something historic was happening. This story is about so much more than a single contest. It is a testament to unwavering confidence, perfect timing, and absolute fearlessness. A look into the divide that separates a generational phenom from everyone else. The legend of the logo shot. The scene could not have been scripted with more drama or more pressure. The Indiana Fever were about to clash with the undefeated New York Liberty. A packed house at the Barclays Center was buzzing, ready for the New York Liberty's first home appearance of the season. They were an unstoppable force that had crushed every team in their path, while the Fever were led by their rookie marvel. The Liberty were the gold standard elite, unflappable. With the DNA of champions, the very thing the Fever yearned to become. Theoretically, the outcome was a foregone conclusion, another notch in New York's perfect record. For Indiana, however, it was their ultimate trial by fire. Was this their chance to prove they deserved a seat at the table with the league's greatest? And at the epicenter of it all, making her return from injury, stood Caitlin Clark. Though she projected calm, stating, "I feel good. I thought my rotations were good." Questions swirled around her. Could she recapture her elite form, withstand the immense pressure, and deliver in the clutch? The game itself was a powder keg. Just as you'd imagine when a hungry underdog challenges a dynasty. Then, the impossible happened. Clark caught a pass on the court's right side. She was nowhere near the three-point line, well outside any logical scoring area. She was in logo territory. 99% of players would reset the offense. But not Caitlin Clark. She scanned the defense, saw a microscopic opening, and in a single, elegant motion, launched the ball from near the half-court line. The shot traced a flawless arc, hanging in the air for what felt like an eternity before ripping through the net. The stadium absolutely erupted. The arena physically shook with a roar that felt seismic. But the shot's true impact was seen not in the stands, but in the reaction of Breanna Stewart, one of the game's most accomplished and composed superstars, who was frozen in place. The legendary player didn't grimace, didn't complain, didn't even show a hint of frustration. A smile of pure disbelief spread across her face as she shook her head, silently acknowledging the masterpiece she'd just witnessed. Her face said everything. "I see you. You are the real deal. Welcome to the Pantheon." When an icon responds that way, it's not just a nod of respect, it's an anointment. The footage detonated across the internet within hours, as social media caught fire. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook were flooded with endless replays, analysis, and memes, while ESPN featured the clip on a relentless loop. The moment's power even reached into another league, where LeBron James himself took to Twitter, cementing a highlight that transcended teams, leagues, and gender. Clark was no longer just making news. She was forging history, compelling the entire sports world to stop and consider what they were seeing. Seasoned analysts, veteran commentators, and broadcasters alike began to seriously debate if they were watching a generational talent emerge before their very eyes. Some even ventured to say she might just be the single best player walking the planet. Declarations that she was a top 5 player in the WNBA became common, with praise coming from every corner, regardless of gender. This was not manufactured excitement. This wasn't a meaningless shot in a lopsided game or a stroke of blind luck. This was a second-year phenom, fresh from the injured list, staring down the league's most dominant team and refusing to back down. She did more than just take a shot. She delivered a message. Indiana's 102-88 triumph over New York was not just a win, it was a statement to the world. The Fever had officially arrived, and Clark had undeniably claimed her throne as a superstar. The sheer audacity and brilliance she put on display did far more than affect the scoreboard. It irrevocably shifted perceptions, altered the season's entire narrative, and commanded profound respect from rivals and legends. That evening, Caitlin Clark wasn't just playing basketball. She was announcing the beginning of her era, and the world of sports could do nothing but watch. That shot was the spark. But what it ignited was just as critical. A lesser athlete would have ridden the wave of that single, brilliant moment, satisfied to have their clip on the highlight reels. But that's not who Caitlin Clark is. That stunning deep three-pointer was far from the final act of her night. That incredible long-range shot was merely the opening salvo. She harnessed the energy of that moment, converting it into raw fuel, into overwhelming momentum, into definitive proof that she was precisely where she belonged. The shot appeared to awaken something primal, not just in Clark, but in every single one of her teammates. A profound change swept over the Fever. The timid hope of an underdog dissolved, replaced by the raw, unyielding command of a team that knew it belonged. Clark never gave them a moment to breathe. She carved a path to the hoop again and again, discovered teammates left unguarded, and orchestrated the very maneuvers that forged champions. Her relentless spirit ignited the entire squad, a blaze that could not be contained. The Liberty, a team that had marched onto the court with an unblemished record and an air of invincibility, were suddenly thrown into chaos. Their once impenetrable defensive strategies, which had stifled every opponent this season, were suddenly powerless against Clark's blend of deadly range, unpredictable creativity, and sheer nerve. For every adjustment they made, she forged a new weapon to dismantle them. If they swarmed her at the three-point line, she would blow past them for a layup. If they sagged off to protect the paint, she would unleash a torrent from downtown. With that global phenomenon of a move, Caitlin Clark etched her name into the annals of college basketball history. When the double team came, an open player was already receiving her pass. It was less a competition and more a masterclass in basketball. And Caitlin Clark was holding the lecture. The arena itself seemed to draw life from her spirit, creating a thunderous atmosphere that felt destined for the playoffs, not the regular season. You could almost touch the shift in power with each change of possession, each basket, each defensive stand. But Clark's dominance wasn't just in the box score, even though her statistics were staggering. It was in her bearing, the way she commanded the floor, the way she guided her teammates, and the way she maintained an icy calm while unleashing a relentless, aggressive assault. There is a wisdom in her game that seems to defy her age and professional standing. She moves like a seasoned veteran who has faced these high-stakes scenarios countless times, despite being at the dawn of her professional career. That fusion of youthful audacity and seasoned composure is an incredibly rare spectacle. It takes most athletes years to forge that kind of mental fortitude. Clark appears to have been forged in it, a product of a collegiate career where she shouldered immense pressure and monumental expectations night after night. Yet, her contribution was far more than a solo performance of genius. Her presence was an elevating force for the entire squad. Players who might have hesitated before taking a crucial shot now did so with newfound certainty, empowered by her leadership. The entire offense opened up, as opponents were forced to warp their coverage to contain Clark's threat from literally anywhere inside half-court. Defensively, rotations became sharper, fueled by a collective surge of energy and concentration. This is the mark of a truly transcendent player. They amplify the talent of everyone sharing the court. It was the gift of Michael Jordan. It is the gift of LeBron James. It is the gift of Stephen Curry. And now, Caitlin Clark is proving she possesses that same power to transform an entire team's destiny through her extraordinary skill and indomitable will. It was a victory forged in unity. While Caitlin Clark's singular brilliance captured the headlines and set social media ablaze, the absolute demolition of the formerly unbeaten Liberty was the result of a complete and total team conquest. The final tally of 102-88 wasn't merely a victory, it was a declaration. This was a crushing defeat that heralded the arrival of the Fever as a force to be reckoned with. And though Clark was the undeniable spark, she was far from alone in breaking down one of the league's most imposing squads, as Kelsey Mitchell demonstrated exactly why she is among the most feared scorers in the WNBA. Kelsey Mitchell has always been a natural scorer, and her performance in the semifinals was the most explosive debut in the history of the WNBA. After a subdued start in the first quarter, Mitchell found her groove and simply erupted. She concluded the night with 22 points. But the sheer number was secondary to their impact. It was all about the timing. Each time the Liberty clawed for a comeback, each time they showed a glimmer of hope, Mitchell was there to silence them with a back-breaking three-pointer or a decisive drive to the hoop. Her capacity to score in rapid, devastating bursts is astonishing. And on that evening, she seemed to have a counter for every defensive look New York attempted. The synergy between Clark and Mitchell was especially compelling to watch. They channeled each other's momentum, forging a backcourt partnership so dynamic that the Liberty were utterly incapable of stopping it. If the defense collapsed on Clark, Mitchell made them suffer the consequences. If they redirected their focus to Mitchell, Clark would exploit the new vulnerabilities. This is the very foundation upon which championship dynasties are built. They were not vying for individual statistics or the spotlight. They were collaborating with a singular purpose: to systematically dismantle a defense that had confounded every other opponent they had encountered all year. Then there was Sydney Colson, who delivered the exact brand of energy that separates contenders from champions. You remember Colson from her time in Vegas, a proven winner with championships to her name. Stepping onto the court from the bench, her impact was immediate, built on relentless hustle plays that might not fill a stat sheet, but are the absolute lifeblood of winning basketball. Colson was a whirlwind on the court, drawing contact, dominating the glass, and hitting the floor for every 50-50 ball, fueling her squad while utterly demoralizing the other side. The way she could change the entire complexion of a game, without needing to light up the scoreboard, is a showcase of court intelligence and unselfishness that every coach covets. And then came the deluge from beyond the arc, a historic shooting performance that will echo through the ages. The Fever didn't just win. They rewrote their own legacy, sinking a franchise-record 17 three-pointers, an astonishing figure born from smart decisions and flawless execution. They were firing at a 48% clip from deep, a rate that is nothing short of world-class in any league. By contrast, the Liberty were ice-cold, managing only 20% from that same distance. The gap was far more than a simple number. It was a complete tactical demolition. The Fever had clearly dissected their opponent's weaknesses and executed their strategy with surgical precision. From the opening tip, it was clear that every single player had the ultimate trust from the coaching staff to let it fly when open, and they embraced that mandate with absolute confidence. The story of the team's unwavering belief and grit could be told through the performance of Lexi Hull alone. Imagine the scene. 18,000 fans roaring for defense. The ball kicks out to the corner, right into the hands of Lexi Hull. After missing some simple shots near the basket earlier, Hull could have easily let her frustration take over. Instead, she remained laser-focused, finding her redemption from long range by draining 3 of her 4 attempts from downtown. That kind of resilience, the power to erase a mistake from memory and stay on the attack, is the very thing that separates good teams from legendary ones. Hull's sudden threat from outside stretched the Liberty's defense to its breaking point, creating wide-open lanes for Clark and Mitchell to orchestrate the offense. The offensive spacing was a masterpiece of constant motion, a symphony of players setting screens and slipping into pockets of open court. This was the antithesis of hero ball. It was a sublime display of collective basketball, with every single player devoted to one common objective, heralding a new era for the WNBA. The true impact of this win wasn't just felt when the clock hit 0, its shockwaves rippled out instantly. This was no fleeting victory, destined to be forgotten by the following week. No, this was a seismic event, a contest that shattered every narrative and forced the entire WNBA world to rethink what it knew. Before that night, the league's conversation was dominated by the Liberty's quest for perfection and the consistent brilliance of Breanna Stewart. The script, it seemed, was already written. All eyes were on established superstars like Nafisa Collier and New York's reigning 3-time WNBA champion, Breanna Stewart. The prevailing question was simple: could anyone possibly stop the Liberty's relentless march toward an undefeated season? Pundits debated if Stewart was already locking up another MVP trophy, while the Fever were dismissed as just another team in the middle of the pack. Then, in one breathtaking night, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever took that script and tore it to shreds. Almost overnight, the entire conversation shifted, now centered on Clark's meteoric rise as the league's most electrifying player and the Fever's transformation into a genuine title contender. This single game left analysts and fans wrestling with a new, uncomfortable reality. How do you even begin to categorize a player, only in her second year, who is already performing at a veteran superstar's level? What does it signal when a young star, fresh off an injury, can systematically dismantle the league's most dominant team? Does the old philosophy of waiting your turn still apply when a talent like Clark is so obviously ready to lead right now? These questions have no easy answers, and they directly challenge the traditional wisdom surrounding player development in professional sports. Clark's astounding trajectory makes a powerful case that raw talent, combined with pure fearlessness, can sometimes outweigh years on a roster. Her instinct to demand the ball in high-stakes moments reveals a deep-seated confidence that usually takes an entire career to cultivate. The fact that she already embodies this quality points to an undeniable truth. We are witnessing something profoundly special. She is that rare generational phenom, already competing at a level most professionals can only ever aspire to. The digital explosion that followed the final buzzer proved just how powerful a force Caitlin Clark has become for women's basketball. Clark isn't just playing the game. She is transforming women's sports and inspiring a new generation of fans. The engagement metrics were off the charts, with people from all walks of life weighing in. This was a conversation that had broken far beyond the traditional WNBA fanbase. This was a cultural moment, pulling in mainstream sports fans, NBA followers, casual viewers, and international audiences, all tuning in to see the phenomenon for themselves. For the league, that kind of crossover appeal is priceless. You see it when a giant like LeBron James tweets about a WNBA game, when ESPN devotes major coverage to a regular season matchup, and when algorithms push these highlights to millions. These are the very moments that ignite and grow the sport for years to come. Caitlin Clark has become appointment television, a magnetic force pulling in viewers who never before tuned into women's basketball. The reverence she commands from titans of the game like Breanna Stewart echoes with immense authority throughout the basketball world. Elite athletes have an instinct for authenticity. They recognize raw, undeniable talent. They can separate manufactured buzz from true brilliance. So, when a player of Stewart's stature openly affirms another's greatness, it's a signal that pierces through all the noise. It proclaims that this is not some media-driven narrative or a fleeting moment of hype. This is the zenith of basketball skill, demanding both awe and respect. That level of validation from one's peers can never be purchased or faked. It must be forged through relentless performance, unwavering consistency, and those electrifying moments that make even the icons of the sport pause in wonder. The future has arrived ahead of schedule, so the question becomes, what new peaks can Caitlin Clark possibly conquer? It's the inquiry echoing in everyone's mind, and the chilling reality is that this might only be the prelude. Her absolute dominance against the Liberty was not a statistical anomaly, nor was it a fortunate night where the stars simply aligned. It was a profound statement of her identity as a competitor, completely fearless, supremely skilled, and built for the crushing pressure of the grandest stages. The injury that had previously confined her to the sidelines could have been a crushing blow, derailing her entire trajectory. Instead, it became her crucible. She returned to the court a more focused, more dangerous version of herself. For 5 games, that quad injury held Caitlin Clark captive on the bench, but she returned with a vengeance. When you combine that sheer force of will with her extraordinary physical gifts, you forge a competitor who is absolutely terrifying to oppose. Defenses are now forced to grapple with her lethal range that starts at the half-court logo and her uncanny ability to engineer shots. For her teammates, her aggressive assaults in transition, and a clutch instinct that seems to activate when everything is on the line. The leadership of the Fever must be euphoric watching the ascent of their young superstar. The task of constructing a championship dynasty around a player like Clark becomes infinitely more manageable when she is already operating at such a rarefied level. There is no need to wait, to hope that potential will one day materialize. She is delivering definitive, game-changing results right now. The effortless way her teammates understand their purpose and play with surging confidence in her presence reveals a chemistry that often takes years to build. The fact that this synergy is already so apparent is a powerful omen for this team's destiny, poised to make a significant impact, not only this year but for many to come. Setting a new franchise record for three-pointers is not merely a statistical curiosity. It is the signature of an entire offensive philosophy, a style of play that the modern era of basketball richly rewards. The Fever are now executing the kind of high-velocity, perimeter-focused basketball that has become the modern formula for winning championships. The Sparks would ultimately prevail, capturing their first WNBA crown since 2002. The conversation is no longer about if Caitlin Clark can be great. She has already answered that. The question now is, what are the absolute limits of her greatness? What does her ultimate ceiling even look like? We are witnessing a player who could define the narrative of women's basketball for the next generation. She possesses the rare charisma to become the very emblem of the league, the kind of star who turns casual viewers into passionate advocates. She is the athlete who will inspire countless young girls to pick up a basketball for the first time. These historic moments are fleeting, and it is becoming profoundly clear that Clark has the talent and the indomitable will to seize this era for herself. Her masterclass against the Liberty was about something more profound than just athletic prowess. It was a testament to sheer confidence, impeccable timing, and the kind of defiant spirit that separates the legends from the merely great. The entire league ought to be electrified by what Caitlin Clark embodies. She is a gravitational force, drawing in attention, excitement, and a new level of prestige that elevates everyone connected to the sport. Now, when she plays, the ratings surge. Social media conversations explode. The casual fan is suddenly invested in the outcome of WNBA games. That incredible rising tide lifts every single boat, creating new opportunities for every player, amplifying league revenue, and expanding the sport's very soul. Yet, beyond all the metrics and business implications, the core truth remains. She is exhilarating to watch. There is an infectious joy in her style, a breathtaking audacity in her shot selection, and a visionary creativity in her playmaking that compels you to see what she'll conjure next. She is the very player that sports leagues are built on dreams of, one who merges unparalleled talent with sheer spectacle and an undeniable, genuine charm. Clark, with her feet planted firmly underneath her, Binley battling against her opponent. What an incredible maneuver! Though the lights in Gainbridge Fieldhouse eventually dimmed, the echoes of that night's performance refused to die. Through one shot, through one epic performance, the entire basketball universe was forced to halt, to bear witness to something exceptional, something irrefutable. Caitlin Clark did not simply win a game that night. She fundamentally shifted the paradigm of expectation, redrew the boundaries of what is possible, and left even the game's icons wondering what new chapter she will write next. The conversation is no longer about her ability to sustain this performance. It's about how the entire league will be forced to adapt. What is the limit for one extraordinary individual to elevate a franchise, a metropolis, an entire game until the world is compelled to bear witness? This legend is not concluding. It has only just been born.